Here's problem number 13 on the sample exam, the one about the submarine and bearing. It says the submarine leaves the port A and travels for 30 miles in the direction of 190 degrees. Now in these bearing problems, what I suggest doing is always at each point of turning or leaving or ending, draw a set of axes through the point. This will help you find the angles. Okay, he leaves in a direction of 190 degrees. So what that means is you start at the north of the point he left at on the top axis and come around in the clockwise fashion 190 degrees. Well, you know if you go halfway around, that's 180 and then another 10. And we're just approximating that anyway. So that little angle in there is 10 degrees. And that puts him at point B. Then it says he sails in the direction of 240 degrees. Again, same thing. Draw your little axes at that point to help you envision, and it's going to help you in a few minutes anyway. So from that point, which is point B, let me label that, he travels in a direction of 240 degrees. Well, 240, again, you start north on the top axis, come around, that'd be 180, and then another 60 would be 240. Now your picture doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you just have to know where those angles are. So that's 240 degrees. Let me label that from the north around as 240. So that's going to tell me a few things here. If that's 240, I know if I go all the way back up to the starting point, let me switch colors here. So from here around back of the top would be 360 degrees all the way around, so the green has to be 120. Okay, and also up here, well, let me finish drawing the third side of the triangle to show you what the question says. How far is he from, this is now where he ends up down here. How far is he from, how far is it from A to B? Okay, I've got my B in the wrong spot. When he turned here, what I labeled as B, that is actually his turning spot. So let me take that B and put that where he ends up, which is down at the bottom. So there's our B. The question is how far is he? How far is it from B to A, or A to B, his distance back? All right, so what do we need to know here? Well, we need to know, if you look at that black triangle, we need to know that angle there where he turned again, which I'm going to highlight. We need to know this angle, because what we're going to use is the law of cosines. I'm going to call this C. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C is your law of cosines. So I need to find angle C because I know the sides. I know this side down here. I haven't labeled it yet until I get all that other junk out of there. I'm just going to leave those numbers out. What I really want to find first is that yellow angle. Now let me show you how to find that. If you look at the green angle that I marked just a second ago, that green one, 120, takes me from here to here, which is almost all of angle C. Almost all of it, except for this little portion right in there where I put the question mark. So I need to find that little tiny one. Well, there's a couple different ways to do that. Here's one way, which is fairly easy. If you notice, there's a triangle. It's a right triangle. This is 90. Up the top, we knew that was 10, so 90 and 10 is 100. So that means that this has to be 80. So now that red triangle make 180 degrees. Now the little angle right next to it, that little angle together with that 80 degrees make that right angle at that point. So that little piece right there has to be 10 degrees. So together the green plus that little red piece, which I just marked, is 130 degrees. So that's our angle C. So that's the cosine 130 degrees. All right, so now let me take some of this extra junk out of here to avoid confusion, except my eraser's not working very swiftly. I really don't need all this extra numbers, except I lost a side, which I'll bring right back. There we go. Okay, so all I need to know is this side and this side, which I know from the original problem, he first sailed for 30 miles, so that's 30. And then he turned and sailed 60 miles. We know the green angle's 130. I'm looking for this side over here, which is side little c. This is big angle C. So over to the formula. I'm trying to find C. So C squared equals A squared. A is the side opposite angle A, which is 60. 60 squared, and B squared is the side opposite angle B, which is 30. 30 squared minus 2 times A, 60, times B, 30, times the cosine of 130. So if you punch all that in, I'll just cut to the chase here. Let me look up this answer. You should get, now remember, have your calculator in degree mode. This is problem number 13. My answer is the square root of 6814. I guess I'll have to punch that in to see what it is. I hadn't square rooted it yet, because you get c squared equals that. So the square root of 6814 equals 82.5 to the nearest tenth, and I guess that's miles. So 82.5 miles is the answer to that bearing question. All right, that's the end of that one. Okay, sample problem number 37. This one's going to go much faster. Joe invested half his money at 12%, 1/4 at 7%. So how much money does he have? I don't know. I'm going to call that X. So half of his money, half of X, times 12%, which is 0.12. 1/4 of his money is 1/4 of X, and he invested that at 7%, 0.07. And then it says the rest of his money, well, half at 12%, 1/4, so that means he has another 1/4 of his money at 6%, 0.06. And his total income from that investment is $520. Okay, pretty simple. I'm going to clear the fractions, multiply through by 4, and I get 2x times 0.12 plus x times 0.07. Multiplying through by 4 still, and I get 0.06 equals, and then by the way, I forgot my x there. There we go. Equals 520 times 4, which is 2080. Okay, so let's see. I guess, yeah, I was going to say I could multiply through by 100 and get rid of all the decimals. Sure, why don't I do that? 2x times 12, 7 times x. I'll just go ahead and write 7x. 6x. Got to multiply the other side by 100 also, so it's 2080 times 100 gives me 2 more zeros, 208,000. So I got 24x's plus 7x plus 6x, which equals 37x's, equals 208,000. Take my calculator, divide both sides by 37. Let me punch that in. 208,000 divided by 37. And this is money, so I'm going to round off to the nearest cent. So I got $5,621.62. And this is problem number 37. Problem number 38 is a mixture problem. So some pecans, or some people say pecans, some pecans are $15 a pound. Okay, let me write that down. Are mixed with peanuts at $5 a pound, so plus $5 a pound, to make a 10-pound mixture worth $12 a pound. So $12, and I know the weight there is 10 pounds. Now what you do is, we don't know how many pecans there were, so we'll call that X. Now since we know we have a total of 10 altogether, and X are pecans, that means that the peanuts would be 10 minus X. Think of it this way, these two weights, that one and this one, have to add up to equal 10. So X plus 10 minus X is 10. So after the equation set up, it's pretty simple from here. Just multiply, combine terms. We have 50 minus 5X equals 120. So 15X minus 5X is 10X. And let's go ahead and subtract that 50 over. It gives us 70. So X equals 7. That represents the number of pounds of pecans. Let's see what the question says. How much of each? So let me label that. And the other amount is 10 minus X, which is going to be 3. And that is the peanuts. And that problem is done. Problem 39 is a dice problem. What's the probability of rolling a 7 or probability of rolling an 11 if we rolled a pair of dice? Well, what you can do is draw your whole dice chart out if you want to, where you put the numbers from 1 to 6 across the top and then down the side, 1 to 6. I won't do the whole thing, and then just start adding. 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, inside the chart, it shows you all the possibilities. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. And you can finish the whole thing. So the probability of getting a 7, you find all the 7s on the chart, and if it were done, you'd see there's 6 ways you can get a 7. So 6 out of 36 is the probability of getting a 7, or means you add the probability of getting an 11. You will find there's 2 ways for that to happen, either a 5 and a 6 or a 6 and a 5. So the probability of getting 11 is a 2 out of 36. And remember, the word or means add, so we just add those 2 probabilities together and get 8 out of 36. And then you can reduce that down by a factor of 4 and get 2 out of 9. And there's the answer, 239. Now I'll go ahead and do number 40, which is another probability question. Yeah, in this question, we're going to pull 4 cards out of a deck and see what the probability that they're all the same, like 4 2s, 4 queens, 4 jacks, whatever. So, for example, let's see, what's the probability of getting a 2 and a 2 and a 2 and a 2? Now, we assume no replacement. So we'll take a look at this. Well, the first 2, there's 4 2s in a deck, so that's 4 out of 52. The second 2, there'd be 3 left out of 51. You have to decrease that number by 1 since you've drawn 1 card out of the deck. The third 2 is 2 out of 50. And the third one is 1 out of 49. So that's the probability of getting 4 2s. But you got to think, well, you could have 4 3s, 4 4s, 4 5s, 4 6 on up to 4 aces. So how many different ways is that? Well, that's 13 different choices you have, 2s through aces. So what you do is find this probability, whatever that equals, and multiply it by 13, and that's going to be your final answer, which looks like it's 1 out of 20,825. And that is the last problem. Done.